this is Arit, one of the engineers at Dev, and I was working on an issue today that I actually learned a lot from, and I thought to share it with the tech community at large. So without further ado, let's jump in. Right here, this is the issue that I was working on, and I'm just going to summarize it real quick. My colleague here says that if you have a comment that references another comment and the first comment is deleted, the original comment becomes invalid. And so this has to do with our liquid tags. We have several liquid tags on Forum, and it allows you to link to content in a very rich way. And so you can link to a tweet, you can link to a snippet on GitHub, and in this case, you can link to a comment made by some other user or even yourself. And so I have my local environment fired up, and I'm just going to demonstrate what the problem is before we dive into solving it. So right here, I have my local environment. I'm logged in as my regular GitHub account. And on the other side, in an incognito tab, I am logged in as another GitHub profile that I use for, these kinds of things. So let's go ahead and create a comment. And I've been working on this already. So if you see like over here, just ignore that. But let's go ahead and make like a new comment. And I'm going to comment as myself in this pane right here. All right, so here's my comment. And I am going to need to grab the ID of this comment, which in the URL you can see is 1P. And we're going to need that for this side of our demonstration. So let me choose an article here. And you can see I kind of already have this going on, but we're starting from scratch. So let me go ahead and create a comment as this identity. And I am going to tag the comment that I created over here. And I'm using our liquid tag format, and you can learn more about that in our I think in the guide for creating a post, there's some information there, but you can also go to our documentation and just search liquid tags, and you can learn more about them there as well. So to create a comment liquid tag in the squiggly and percentage brackets, I'm going to say comment, and then I'm going to include the ID from the comment URL, 1P right there, okay? And that's how you reference the comment. And if we click preview here, you see this is my comment, and then this is my liquid tagged comment right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and submit. So here is the bug. The bug is if I go ahead and delete this comment, so let's delete this comment. Yes, we want to delete. And then I come over here to edit this comment that I made as Bene. All right, so I'm editing the comment, and so let's say some edits, right? If I go ahead and submit, nothing happens. It's failing silently. It's failing silently. And if I hit preview, I get this error. There was an error in your markdown, invalid comment ID, or comment does not exist. And it's not letting me submit, right? And so the only other option I have is to hit cancel, and then it 404s, which is strange because this isn't the comment that was deleted over here. This is another comment, but just because it referenced a deleted comment in the liquid tag, it's blowing up. So that's a demonstration of the error. So I'm now going to walk us through kind of how I figured out my way through this, because at the beginning I really had no clue what I was doing, and I have never worked with the liquid tags on our code base before, which is one of the reasons why I took this issue. And so going to the code, I have the files open already, but I'm just going to walk you through how I got to these files. So I know I'm dealing with liquid tags. And so I go into the app folder, and here we have liquid tags. And so I look through the liquid tags and I see comment tag. And so that's this file over here. And this file basically is the code that generates and renders the liquid tag for a comment. Now, as far as the actual display, like you can see the render method here. And so this kind of clued me in that there's some view, right? We need some view. Like if you look at the comment, oh, it's gone now. But if you remember the comment, it had, and I think I can, yes, okay. So you see like there's this box, and there's like a little shadow, and then there's the picture, the name, the GitHub link, you know. So this is cluing me in that there's some kind of view that is rendering this content. And so I go to the views folder, and I look in comments. I mean, I kind of, you know, look through, I mean, comments make sense. And I see this partial here that says liquid. And that was how I found it. But another clue is up here. You see partial, and this is like a relative file path right here. Comments liquid, right? And it's a partial. So, you know, you can, even if you don't know ahead of time kind of what you're going to do, you just look for clues. It's like detective work, right? You look for clues. And so that is this file over here. And looking at it, it makes sense because I see profile pic, which is the picture. I see the username is rendered. I see the Twitter link and icon is rendered. I see a GitHub, and then I see the body, you know, the body of the comment liquid tag. So everything looks kosher. And then the third thing I thought about was, since clicking submit is causing a silent failure, well, that is governed by the controller. So I also thought to open up the comments controller, and it's rather a large file in our code base, but I'm looking for, because if you notice when we clicked on Markdown, that's almost like a preview. And so I'm looking for some kind of preview method, which is right here. Okay, so again, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I'm just kind of opening files. I did also open the spec file for the comment liquid tag, but that is outside the scope of this video. I may do another video on that. All right, and so, you know, playing around with kind of what's going on. If you remember, you can rewind the video if, okay, I just went back. And so you see this right here where it says there's an error in your Markdown, invalid comment ID. And so this sentence right here matches this sentence. And so I know that this is the error that is being raised because the comment is, you know, we can't find the comment. And so in my mind, right, so thinking about, even before you get to the code, thinking about a possible solution, I'm thinking that instead of this happening, instead of raising an error that prints to the screen, and if you're thinking, you know, what part of the code actually governs the printing of this error, if we come to the comments controller, we see here that under the preview action, we have an error message rescue here, and process HTML, we're basically generating some HTML that shows, see, that's our disappointed face there, and we have the sentence, there was an error in your Markdown, and then we have a horizontal rule, and then we are printing out the message. So whatever this, you know, this message right here is you know, is what is contained in E, which is the error right here, right? And so that's what's happening. And so in my mind, I feel like instead of that happening, isn't there a way for us to return a simple sentence that says comment not found? Because I don't see why the enclosing comment should blow up on account of the liquid tag comment within it, right? And so if the liquid tag comment cannot be found, then we should just return a message that says comment not found, and the enclosing comment or the parent comment should remain as is. So intuitively, that's what I'm thinking, right? As a possible solution. And I'm not saying it's the only solution, but it's a possible solution. And so I'm thinking, how do I prevent this? How do I not raise, sorry, how do I not raise an error? How do I not raise this error? And, you know, I was stuck for a little bit, and thanks to my colleague Rhymes, we talked through this a little bit, and come to find out that the .find by nature raises an exception when it doesn't find the record. Okay, and so I didn't know that. And so that's why we are rescuing the potential error. That's the reason for this block of code right here, is because this .find raises an exception when the record is not found. And so there is another find method in Rails called find by. And so the difference between find and find by is find by will search for the record, but if it doesn't find it, it will return nil. It would return nil. Now, why does that help us? Okay, so going back to my potential solution, I'm saying if the comment is not found, then we can return some other text. Now, if we go to our partial, our comment, liquid comment partial, we see that, you know, this is what is rendered, and we see that we have you know, a local variable comment, and that was passed in by the render function in the liquid tag code, right? And so we see this is the partial that we're calling, which is this, and then the locals, we're passing in the comment instance that is initialized here in the initialize method, right? And so we are initializing at comment by running the function or the method find comment down here. But remember, it's raising an exception, and so we're really not even hitting this. You know, if we're using just .find, we're not even hitting this. But now, by using find by, we know that if we don't find this record, then it's going to return nil. And so now at comment is going to equal nil up here. And then we are passing nil as, you know, in locals for the local comment. And so then coming to the partial, which is the view, we can now include a check, right? And so instead of just rendering this and assuming that there's a comment, we can check to see if there's a comment. And so we can say if comment, right? And so if there is a comment, then render this whole thing. And I'm just going to fix the indentation here. And so if there is a comment, render this whole thing. Else, if there's no comment, then I'm going to return like the body here, because this is more about like identifying the author of the comment, which there's no comment, so we don't need that. But I'm going to take this right here, and I'm going to return that in the else block. And then let's go ahead and end. And so what we're doing is, if there's no comment, then we are just going to return a simple comment not found. And I'm going to put it in a paragraph tag. So comment not found. All right. And so this makes sense to me. I haven't tested it out yet, but it makes sense to me. And so now we are using the find by method. And so we're going to we don't need to handle the exception anymore. We don't need to handle any exceptions that are raised, because it's either going to return the record or it's going to return nil. So in my mind, this should work, right? And we haven't touched the controller. You might ask, why did I open the controller? It's kind of what came to me, because again, I'm thinking the submit is failing, right? But the reason why I'm not just going to jump into the controller and make changes here is because this is the controller that's handling all comments, not just comment liquid tags. And so that's a principle I'm learning. You want to whatever like implementation you're working on or changes that you're making, you want to keep it as localized to the feature that you're working on as possible. You don't need to go changing higher level things that, are touching other, aspects of the application, right? And so that's, we're not making any changes here unless we absolutely have to, right? All right, so why don't we go back to our application? So let's go ahead and cancel this and go back to the home page, and we're going to run this again. I'm going to create a comment here. So new comment number 2. All right, so create a comment, and let's go ahead and get it's 21. That's the ID. And then I'm going to create, ignore that. I'm going to create a comment here, new comment number 2 by Bennett, and I am going to create a liquid tag to comment with ID 21, right? And so if I hit preview, there's an error. There's an error. There's an error in your markdown. Unsupported argument type 53 integer, right? I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means, but in my mind, I'm like, I'm using find by now, and it's returning nil for a comment that's not found. So like, what's the problem? But it says unsupported argument type 53, and it says integer. And so that's like a clue for me. I'm passing in an integer somewhere, and it's an unsupported argument. So argument tells me there's some function or some method being called, and it's telling me that there's an unsupported argument type integer. And so I'm passing in an integer somewhere that isn't supported. And I know I haven't changed that much code. Now, it doesn't make sense liquid because this is like a local, I'm not calling anything here. So it must be in my comment liquid tag code. And the only thing I've changed here is right here. And so immediately this clues me in that this that I'm passing here is not supported, right? Now, with dot find, it defaults to looking for something by its ID, right? And so if you say comment.find and then in brackets 26, it's going to look for the comment with ID 26. With find by, there needs to be some specification as to the attribute that you are finding by, right? And so the way that I teased this out was I went into my Rails console, because then I wasn't sure. I'm looking at this and I'm not sure what attribute that I need to search by. Should I search by ID? Should I search by ID code? I wasn't sure. And so I go into my Rails console, and I'm just going to look up the last comment that was created and check the attributes that comment has. And so comment.last, and that gives me my last comment. And looking through the attributes here, I see that there is ID 53, but then there's also ID code 21, and it was 21 that I used. And so this makes sense. And if you look at how 21 is displayed, it's a string. It's not an integer. So it makes sense. It's telling me unsupported argument type integer, but ID code is a string. And so I'm going to go back into my code, and I'm going to, first of all, indicate the attribute to find by, and then I'm just going to pass ID code. I'm not translating it, as it were, to an integer, which is what the to_i is, right? To integer. That isn't necessary because I'm not searching by ID anymore. I'm searching by ID code. All right, so let's go ahead and save that. And then we are going to go back to our development application. So let's go back to Markdown. I'm going to cut this out. I'm just going to refresh because there was a change in the code. So I'm going to refresh, and then I'm going to paste back the comment that I'm trying to create. Bam. And so I see now this is my new comment number 2 by Arid. And so the liquid tag has rendered successfully, and it works. All right, so let's go ahead and submit, and that's our comment there. Now, let's go through the cycle again. I'm going to delete the comment. Yes, I'm sure I want to delete it. And then I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to edit my comment, because that's that's what quote unquote refreshes the liquid tag that has been embedded, is if you resave the comment, right? And so I'm going to some edits just to show that I edited it. And then when I hit preview, comment not found, right? And so we are no longer getting that error, that standard error that was being raised by the .find method, because now we're using find by. And so per our view for liquid tag comments, this is what is being returned right here, right? Because comment doesn't exist. And so if I go ahead and submit, it doesn't fail silently, and my comment has been edited, and it's telling me that the comment liquid tag, the comment is not found, so nothing is rendered in a sense. And the parent comment, which is the enclosing comment, is not blowing up. Because if you remember, we were 404ing. Whenever we went back to the parent comment URL, it would 404, but that isn't happening anymore. And so, like I said, this was just like a brief video kind of walking through like my process for debugging and figuring out what's happening. Because like at the beginning, like I said, I had no clue what I was gonna do, but it's almost like detective work, right? You kind of, hunt for clues in the code, and of course help from your teammates or whoever you code with, and you can pretty much figure out your way forward. So I know that there is a spec file that is associated with the comment liquid tag code, and so I'm going to work on that, and I may do a video on that as well. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thank you.